the distorted state of what you call it of drug use.
Altered state, yeah.
That altered
You're
state
fucked up.
is and you know what? I think what happens is you don't have a clear reference to fix shit. Because
True.
it feels...
Yeah, you're fucking out of... No, you can't put things together, and you're inconsistent. You're inconsistent.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you feel one way one day, you know, and then as soon as you get on some of that stuff, though, your whole shit changes. You know, it's a foundation of bullshit, you know?
If we were talking about this in a real sense, like, if people... like if this was medieval times, drugs would be witchcraft.
Right.
It would be a potion where you alter a motherfucker's personality based on whatever the fuck it is, and it is that that seriously.
Yeah.
Now I and I don't want to I don't really do no hard drugs, but I smoke a little weed.
Right.
But it's with the intent of the distortion, it's in control of that distortion.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's almost like me getting on a roller coaster, going to an amusement park, and I'm going.
That's what you're going to do.
Yeah, it's not a I need to alter my state.
Also, it's well, I mean, you're altering your state for not a permanent basis, almost like
no drug is permanent.
Getaway
weed, you're not self-medicating. You know, I mean, you're like trying to get like a little loose or relax. Where it's like cocaine, you're like stuff like that. You're like you're trying to
weed, there's a difference.
Not feel or feel something.
It's the same thing. I think that you have to be aware of what you're getting into, and when you're aware of what you're getting into, that's a different thing than going, I'm gonna, you become this different person. It's almost like where it becomes your, you know what I'm saying?
I hear that.
It becomes the cape. Your cape. You take the glasses off.
The glass, for sure. It does become definitely yes.
And that state can be something that you like better than you like yourself.
For sure.
And then that becomes difficult. So a lot of the things. So now you're operating. I had a good friend of mine, for years was he had multiple he had multiple things of where he let the guest is here. He had multiple things where he had like a anniversary of when he stopped smoking crack.
Right.
He had an anniversary when he stopped smoking.
Crack is a dope drug, by the way. Crack is one fantastic drug.
Yeah, have you smoked crack?
Oh God, it's fucking amazing.
Really?
Every 10 years I'll do it. That's it. That shit is fucking crazy. It's exactly everything you ever heard. It's fucking terrible. It's that.
And then he had dope, and then he was a time when he stopped smoking cigarettes, when he stopped doing alcohol, and he had different. He had
many anniversaries.
He had a lot of anniversaries.
You just gotta go. Hey, pick one day.
But he was a 60-year-old dude, right? Well, when I met him, he was like 50, and I was in my 30s.
I don't know if part of that's because it's the program. You got to remember that shit, or it's just what? But it's
you got to keep track.
Yeah, you have birthdays, you have sponsors. They remind you all that shit. But I mean, that is intense to have a bunch of different anniversaries.
Yeah, he had all kinds of anniversaries, and the thing with him was when he was in relationships, most of the time, because his relationships there was this situation where you stop growing. I mean, it's not that you stop growing.
Sure, no, you do.
Okay, here's what I liken it to.
Right.
So anybody who used to watch Bart Simpson or still watches Bart Simpson, Bart Simpson is 9 years old, but he's been 9 years old for 21 years because he's a character of himself. So he only ages at a half hour at a time.
Right.
So you find this too when you see comics.
Right.
A comic who does a character.
Right.
The character stays the same, and as the person evolves as a human being, the character kind of doesn't. It only evolves when you do the character.
Right.
So the character doesn't evolve, and so now you're Mitch Fattel, and you're doing a baby voice,
right?
And you're a 50-year-old dude,
right?
And you're like vagina. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and that's fine if that's what you choose to do, is do this character.
Right.
But ultimately, what happens is we try to be ourselves on stage, and because we're ourselves on stage, as we evolve as a human being, so does what we talk about on stage.
For sure.
If you don't do that, then you end up in a situation where you're doing this character.
Right.
Dice was always Dice.
Right.
So here's an old Jewish guy who's losing his hair, who's still, you know, he's got a jacket with no sleeves on, and gloves with no feet. It's just, you know, it just doesn't. There's no incongruence. It's incongruent. So what happens is, here's a dude who, and I find this about drugs and jail.
Oh yeah, that's stunts. Yeah, that'll
come out and you are where you left off. So you're only maturing. Now you may be maturing as a drug addict, but that's only when you're high.
Not really. No, I mean, listen. Like, there's like, you know, my mom. She started doing drugs. Like, she started doing drugs when she was really young, and she's 60 something now, and acts very much like a 20-year-old.
It's a 20-year-old, right?
Yeah. And, you know, same thing with my father, you know, and I didn't start doing drugs until I was in my mid-20s. So it's weird, like, even with my stand-up.
So, Dre, you still got time.
Right. So, yeah, don't do it.
Never too late to start.
But it's one of those things, you do stunt, you know, like the hard time you do, if you're doing like drugs like daily and shit, you're going to start moving forward. I feel like mentally I'm like 10 years back, you know, I feel, you know, and now that I'm sober, it's like, it's changing.
Like I have more, I'm growing, and you find it.
I feel like every day even, it's like, you're like, damn, what the fuck have I been doing, nigga, goddamn, you know? But, it stunts you. It stops you from growing.
And it's a kind of a difficult situation, because that growth doesn't translate, and now you're dealing with, you know, you're dealing with women your age, or, you know, or women who are younger than you, that are more mature.
Hopefully younger. Yeah, we try to not do over 30. I'm trying to, you know.
And they're mature, but they're mature in a way that you're not, because you haven't, you know, my boy that I talked about was, you know, he's probably 70 now, but he, you know, he used to ask me questions about relationships that you would ask in high school.
Right.
You know? Right. Because he started doing drugs when he was like 11.
Right.
So it's just like
he missed out on that whole phase.
Yeah, it just the picking the, you know, the pecking order, and you know, where you pick on a girl because you like her, and you I don't like you, and you know, even that and that becoming mature. So it's an interesting concept to even think that you could you know, that growth and that. So I've been working, like even doing the show for 5 years. We've been doing the show. My maturity about relationships has evolved, because I'm doing it every day.
Right.
Like, even the stuff that I know, the stuff that's simple, like Harry will even, like, if we runs into a dude, and the dude will be like, yeah, I need to talk to Dante, and Harry will go, well, what's the problem? And then Harry usually it's some stuff that's so, Harry just dispatches it like blah, 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 and he goes, well, you know, you could call Dante, but I mean, this is what
I kind of go in there like I do all the blood pressure work beforehand before I send somebody in to see the doctor.
You're the triage nurse. You come in, you're like, all right, let's see what's wrong.
We can take care of that.
We got that.
I'm in surgery right now. He's taking care of a couple people who've got some damaged relationships.